the plaque I would not present. At my husband's appreciation service, I closed the velvet case around his plaque and returned it to the committee chair instead of placing it in his hands. The engraved words, "Shepherd of Integrity," disappeared beneath the lid. The organist lifted both hands from the keys. A glass of water trembled on the pulpit rail. Somewhere behind the second pew, a program slipped to the floor. "Mercy," one woman said. A little boy in a navy suit turned toward his grandmother. Because he thought the service had ended early, Mother Eunice Carver's cream hat leaned slightly over one eye. She did not straighten it. My husband, Pastor Isaiah Mercer, stood 3 steps from me beneath white roses and a gold banner that read "A Faithful Shepherd for 28 years. He had asked me to present the plaque because, in his words, no one could speak to his character with more authority than his wife. 4 days earlier, I might have believed that request was an honor. Now I knew the plaque had been ordered and paid for by Deaconess Lenora Banks, a widow Isaiah had counseled privately for 18 months. Its final line came from letters he had written to her. Letters that called emotional secrecy, a sacred shelter, and pastoral dependent spiritual trust. I also knew he had asked Lenora to let me hand it to him. He wanted the 2 women most affected by his choices to stand on opposite sides of his public image and hold it upright. My thumb pressed into the brass latch until pain traveled into my wrist. Isaiah looked first at the district superintendent, then at Lenora, then toward the side door. Only after measuring every possible consequence did he look at me. And in the face of the man whose private prayers had once made me feel safe, I saw calculation before remorse. I did not help Isaiah build Mercy Crossing Missionary Baptist Church from the ground up. The church had already survived 56 years before we arrived. Its cornerstone carried names of women who cooked for building funds, men who laid brick after factory shifts, and mothers who prayed children through war, segregation, addiction, and grief. I entered that history as a caretaker, not an owner. For 28 years, Isaiah served as senior pastor, and I carried the work people called the softer side of ministry. I organized funeral meals, trained altar counselors, sat with women after diagnosis, and kept the bereavement room stocked with tea, bus schedules, and the names of reputable therapists. People called me First Lady, even when I asked them to use no title. They believed I knew everything Isaiah knew. They assumed the closeness of our platform chairs reflected the closeness of our decisions. In truth, my place beside the pulpit often made me visible without making me included. Isaiah was affectionate in public. He touched the small of my back as we crossed the sanctuary and told visiting pastors I was the safest person in his life. At home, we had not been cruel. Cruelty would have been easier to name. We had become careful. He brought me conclusions. Instead of conversations, I carried questions until they softened into silence. When I said I felt outside his inner life, he reminded me how many burdens pastoral leadership placed on him. I told myself love sometimes meant not demanding access to every room in a person's heart. The belief sounded mature. It also kept me lonely. What I wanted was not constant attention. I wanted to be protected from being used as evidence for a marriage he no longer tended. I did not yet know how often My smile had been asked to certify what my spirit could no longer feel. Lenora Banks joined our Thursday grief circle 9 months after her husband died. She was 62, soft-spoken, and precise. She wore dark suits with bright scarves and wrote every scripture reference in a blue notebook. Her husband, Harold, had served on the usher board for 19 years. After his funeral, people praised her strength so often that no one asked what strength was costing her. The grief circle met in the women's ministry room beneath a stained glass window shaped like an open hand. We did not rush people toward victory. We let them say when the bed felt too large, when Sunday afternoons became unbearable, and when prayer did not immediately quiet the body's memory of companionship. Isaiah visited the circle twice that winter. The first time, he offered Psalm 34:18. "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted." He spoke gently and left before the women shared. The second time, he stayed. Lenora asked whether grief could make a person spiritually confused. Isaiah said, "Grief created a need for steady pastoral covering," and offered to meet with her privately after Bible study. I noticed the language. Pastoral care should help a wounded person recover her footing. It should not make the pastor himself feel like the ground. Still, I said nothing. Lenora was vulnerable, and I did not want jealousy placed on a grieving woman. That was the first way I abandoned myself. I treated every instinct as a moral accusation before allowing it to become a question. Their meetings grew frequent. Lenora waited near the church office after Wednesday service. Sometimes their conversations lasted until custodians dimmed the hallway lights. When I suggested involving another counselor, Isaiah said continuity mattered. "She trusts me. Then protect that trust with structure." His expression tightened. Not every relationship needs to be managed by your fear. Manipulation does not always deny what you see. Sometimes it teaches you to distrust the part of yourself that saw it. The appreciation committee began planning in early spring. 28 years was not a traditional anniversary, but the sanctuary renovation was complete. Isaiah's regional influence was growing, and several ministers wanted the service recorded for a leadership archive. Deaconess Lenora volunteered to oversee the commemorative plaque. No one found that unusual. She had worked in a jewelry store before retirement and understood engraving and presentation cases. At the first meeting, she placed 3 wording options on the table. The third read, "To Pastor Isaiah Mercer, a shepherd of integrity, who made room for the unseen heart and taught it to rest without fear." The room grew warm around me. I had never heard Isaiah use the unseen heart in a sermon, workshop, or prayer. But Lenora read it as though the words belonged to a memory. "Where did that line come from?" I asked. Her fingers paused. "Pastor Mercer has a gift for making people feel understood." That is not what I asked. Before she could answer, Isaiah entered Caring Anniversary Programs. He glanced at the page and smiled. "That one sounds personal," I said. "Appreciation should be personal." The committee chose it. Afterward, he walked with me past the church garden. Rain had gathered on the empty bench, and purple irises bent toward the path. "I want you to present the plaque," he said. "Why me?" "Because you know the whole man." "Do I?" He stopped beneath the covered walkway. "You have been distant lately. I've been asking for clarity." clarity can become suspicion when it is fed too often. There it was again, my question renamed as a flaw. He kissed my forehead before returning inside. Water fell from the roof in a patient line. A marriage can look calm because one person has become skilled at absorbing every disturbance. The plaque arrived at the church office 4 days before the service. It rested inside a walnut-colored case lined with burgundy velvet. The brass plate caught the afternoon light, and for a moment the words looked almost holy. Isaiah asked me to inspect it while he met with the guest preacher. Make sure they spelled everything correctly, he said, and practice the presentation. The cameras will be close. The sentence unsettled me, because he had imagined my movements before asking what I was willing to say. I carried the case to the women's ministry room. The spelling was correct. The dates were correct. The phrase about the unseen heart remained. When I lifted the plaque to check its mounting screws, a cream envelope slipped from behind the velvet backing. First Lady was written across it in Lenora's hand. Inside was a note. Please meet me in this room after choir rehearsal. I need to tell you what this plaque is being asked to hide. I will not let you present it without knowing. Beneath it was a photocopy of a handwritten letter. I read only the first lines. You do not have to apologize for needing me. Some bonds are not meant for the language ordinary people use. I have made room for your unseen heart, and you have made room for mine. The letter was signed Isaiah. Heat rose behind my ears, my knees weakened, and I placed both palms on the table to remain upright. Outside, the choir repeated the same measure until every voice landed together. Inside, my life divided into what I had suspected and what I could no longer deny. I did not call Isaiah or confront Lenora in the hallway. For years, I had believed immediate silence proved spiritual control. That evening I understood silence could also be the pause a woman takes while deciding whether she will continue protecting everyone except herself. I sat beneath the colored light and waited for rehearsal to end. Lenora entered the women's ministry room, carrying her blue notebook and a gray document box. She closed the door but did not lock it. I am sorry, she said. Tell me the truth before you ask me what to do with your sorrow. She nodded. The counseling became personal 6 months after it began. Isaiah shared frustrations about leadership, his loneliness in marriage, and the burden of always being needed. He told Lenora she understood the man beneath the title. He began writing letters because, he said, phones were careless. There were 22. He called their relationship a sacred friendship, a place of emotional covering, and a bond that should not be judged by people who understood only appearances. Those phrases made secrecy sound spiritually advanced. Was it physical? I asked. No. I believed her. The absence of sex did not make the betrayal small. Isaiah had used pastoral authority to create emotional exclusivity with a grieving woman. He gave her private language, asked her to protect his reputation, and made her responsible for his sense of being understood. Lenora opened the box. The letters were arranged by date. Several included prayers. Others imagined future seasons when they might serve together without explaining their closeness. He never promised to leave you, she said. He said your marriage was a public covenant and ours was a private refuge. That was what he believed I was. A visible structure holding his life in place. Why the plaque? He chose the wording. I paid for it. He said, it would mean something to both of us when you handed it to him. The cruelty was not loud, it was ceremonial. Lenora had written a formal complaint to Dr. Ruth Caldwell, the district superintendent. I was afraid they would say I tempted him because I was lonely. Some may. That will not make it true. Two truths sat between us. She had participated in secrecy, and Isaiah held the authority that taught secrecy. How to call it self-care. I asked Isaiah to meet me in the church office the next afternoon. The plaque remained closed on the table between us. I placed one copied letter beside it. He read the first line and lowered himself into the chair. How many have you seen? He asked. Not is Lenora all right? Not what have I done to you? How many? Enough to know why you selected the engraving. Isaiah pressed his hands together. I crossed emotional boundaries. You created them, crossed them, and gave them spiritual names. I was lonely. So was I. He looked toward the door. Nothing physical happened. You keep offering the absence of one betrayal as proof that another should not count. He said Lenora depended on him, and that the letters gave both of them a private place to speak honestly. Pastoral care should return a woman to herself. I said, you made yourself necessary. His face changed into fear. What does Lenora intend to do? She intends to tell the truth. The appreciation service cannot become the setting for this. You chose the service when you chose the plaque. He asked me to present it anyway. The church, he said, needed stability while leaders reviewed the matter privately. Refusing would create questions before they could control the narrative. That phrase completed something in me. For years, I had called my silence discretion. I had called my willingness to be displayed submission. I had called emotional exclusion patience. But patience does not require a woman to certify what she knows is false. I will not present this plaque. Think about what public humiliation will do to the church. Churches sometimes protect appearance at the expense of women's pain because appearance is donors, photographs, and schedules. Pain often has only a chair in a back room. The humiliation began when you turned counseling into concealment. I said, visibility is not the beginning of harm. He asked what I planned to do Sunday. I planned to stop lending you my face. Then I left the office door open behind me. Sunday arrived, dressed in white and gold. The senior choir wore cream robes, the usher board pinned gold ribbons above their badges. White roses stood at the altar, fresh enough to hide how many stems had already been cut. Lenora sat on the third pew beside Dr. Caldwell. Isaiah saw them before the processional. He adjusted his cuff and told the armor bearer to move an extra chair onto the platform. That was the habit of a man who believed every disruption could be arranged. The service moved through prayer, scripture, choir selections, and tributes. Ministers spoke of Isaiah's preaching, hospital visits, and scholarships. Those good works were real. Truth does not require us to erase everything a person has done well. It requires us to stop using the good as permission to conceal harm. Near the end, the committee chair carried the velvet case to the pulpit. We invite our beloved First Lady to present this symbol of faithful service. I walked forward. Isaiah smiled for the cameras. I opened the case so the congregation could see the plate. Then I closed it. At my husband's request, I was asked to present this plaque as a witness to his integrity. The room quieted. I cannot do that. I returned the case to the committee chair. The organist lifted both hands from the keys. A glass trembled on the pulpit rail. A program slipped behind the second pew. "Mercy," a woman said. "A formal complaint involving pastoral counseling boundaries has been submitted." The language on this plaque came from private letters written during that counseling relationship. I will not use my position as Isaiah's wife to validate an honor, while the truth is being examined. Isaiah stepped toward the microphone. "This is a painful misunderstanding." Dr. Caldwell stood. "It will be handled with care," she said, "and with process." Lenora rose, holding the gray box. "My grief was real," she said. "So was my participation in secrecy. I am submitting every letter." No one shouted. The choir closed their folders. Isaiah looked toward the side door, then at Dr. Caldwell, then at the cameras. Only after measuring the room did he look at me. I saw calculation before remorse. Dr. Caldwell did not allow the appreciation service to continue as though truth were an interruption between musical selections. She dismissed the visiting ministers from the platform, asked the media team to stop recording and preserve the files, and announced that Isaiah would be placed on administrative leave under the association's clergy ethics policy. The plaque remained closed on the communion table. Isaiah asked to address the church. Dr. Caldwell said no. That refusal prevented a skilled preacher from using the pulpit to explain the pain before the harmed women had been heard. He removed his robe in the choir room and left through the side hallway with 2 senior deacons. I did not follow him. For 28 years, my body had moved automatically toward whatever threatened his dignity that morning. I stayed in the sanctuary. Dr. Caldwell invited members to remain for prayer, but she gave clear instruction. No one will pray against accusation. No one will pray for silence. We will pray for truth, wisdom, protection, and clean hands. Spiritual communities can use prayer either to face reality or escape it. The difference is whether prayer makes room for accountability after the amen. I sat on the second pew instead of returning to the First Lady's chair. Mother Eunice sat on my left, Sister Naomi Grant sat on my right. Neither asked what would happen to my marriage. Some members looked at Lenora with compassion. Others looked away. A few whispered that a widow should have known better. Deaconess Pearl Avery, 81, and nearly hidden behind her church hat, turned around. "A shepherd has more responsibility than a wounded sheep," she said. The whispering stopped. The sanctuary settled slowly, like water after something heavy has entered it. No one received the plaque. The roses remained at the altar, beautiful and already separated from their roots. The ethics review took place over 6 weeks inside church offices, in association meeting rooms. Lenora's letters established a pattern. Isaiah began with legitimate grief support. Then he increased contact, shared frustrations about our marriage, and encouraged Lenora to believe her ability to understand him was spiritually significant. He asked her not to discuss the letters with me, the counseling team, or any deacon, because outside opinions would contaminate what had been entrusted to them. He did not threaten her. He made secrecy feel like evidence of loyalty. The review found no physical relationship and no transfer of church money. Some members treated those absences as reasons to end the inquiry. Dr. Caldwell did not. Clergy ethics are not limited to what happened with a body or a bank account, she told the panel. They also govern power, dependency, consent, and truth. 2 other women reported blurred boundaries during counseling. Neither described romance. Both said Isaiah shared personal loneliness and made them feel responsible for encouraging him. The case was no longer one emotional relationship. It was a pattern of misplaced dependence. Isaiah initially described his conduct as mutual weakness. The panel required different language. A pastor and a grieving member do not enter emotional entanglement with equal power. The association suspended Isaiah's ministerial credentials for 12 months. He was prohibited from preaching, private counseling, and leadership. Reinstatement required therapy, ethics training, a written acknowledgement of harm, and review by people who were not his friends. He accepted only after the panel said refusal would begin permanent revocation. Remorse had not led him to accountability, consequence had. The church appointed an outside interim pastor. Counseling doors received clear panels. No minister could meet repeatedly with a vulnerable member without documented referral, supervision, and another trained caregiver involved. Structure could not undo what happened. But care without structure had already shown us what it could become. Your women of mercy. Crossing refused to turn Lenora and me into opposing sides of the same man's story. That refusal became its own ministry. Mother Eunice brought 2 covered plates after every review meeting. One for me and one for Lenora. She simply made sure neither woman left the church hungry. Sister Naomi drove Lenora to association interviews because Lenora's hands shook when she entered the parking lot. Naomi did not excuse her choices. She also did not let shame become another punishment. Deaconess Pearl sat beside me during worship for 12 weeks. When members asked whether I would stand by my husband, she answered first. She is standing by the truth. That is enough standing for today. The Grief Circle women rewrote every pastoral care guideline. They added a member advocate to referrals, created a list of licensed therapists, and required ministers to explain confidentiality and boundaries in plain language. A young woman named Camille designed cards for the ministry rooms. Care should make you freer, not more dependent. Secrecy is not proof of spiritual depth. You may request another person in the room. Those sentences were not dramatic, they were useful. Lenora asked to speak with me in the church garden after one meeting. Rain had left the path dark, and the irises were lifting again. I do not expect friendship, she said. I cannot offer it. I understand. I will not carry hatred for you, but forgiveness will not require me to pretend trust is present where it is not. She nodded. I need to learn how to live without being chosen by someone who should have protected me. I had my own version of that lesson. I needed to live without being displayed by someone who should have cherished me. Solidarity does not always look like closeness. Sometimes It is two women refusing to let a man's deception teach them to destroy each other. Pure Zaire. And I met with a licensed counselor in the church family resource room. I insisted the door remain open during our first session. Not because I feared him physically, but because secrecy had shaped too much of the damage I needed healing to begin in a room that did not ask me to disappear. Isaiah apologized for the letters. The counselor asked him to name what they had taken from me. He spoke about trust, embarrassment, and the respect of the congregation. I waited. Finally, I said, "You took my right to know what marriage I was standing inside." That was the wound beneath the plaque. He had not only given emotional intimacy to another woman, he had assigned me a public role in the concealment. He expected me to smile and place an honor in his hands while private words moved beneath the ceremony. I told him our marriage would remain separated during his suspension. I would not promise reconciliation as a reward for therapy. I would evaluate change by truthfulness, humility, and his ability to accept boundaries without calling them rejection. He asked whether I had forgiven him. "I am beginning to release the desire to punish you. That is not the same as restoring your access to me." For much of my life, I believed Christian forgiveness meant removing consequences quickly enough to prove my heart was clean. I no longer believe that. Forgiveness can release vengeance while boundaries continue protecting what truth uncovered. Isaiah wept quietly. I did not move across the room to comfort him. Women are often trained to relieve a man's discomfort before he has understood what caused it. We interrupt consequence with care, then wonder why the lesson never deepens. Light crossed the open doorway and reached the carpet between us. I had prayed for peace. Now I understood peace was not the absence of difficult truth. It was the end of my agreement with confusion. 3 months after the service, the appreciation committee asked what should happen to the plaque. Some wanted to discard it. Others wanted to store it until Isaiah completed discipline. I asked the church not to hide it and not to display it as honor. The engraved brass plate was placed in the association file with the letters and ethics report. The blank base was mounted in the pastoral care hallway beneath a covenant written by the women's ministry. The covenant promised that grief would not be used to create dependency. Counseling would not become emotional secrecy, and no pastor's reputation would be protected above a member's safety. The empty space beneath it said what another inscription could not. Honor without accountability leaves nothing worth reading. I returned to the grief circle, but the ministry changed. We invited therapists to teach about trauma, loneliness, consent, and the difference between spiritual guidance and emotional possession. Women practiced sentences many had never been encouraged to say in church. "I need another person present. I do not agree with that interpretation. Please put that in writing. This relationship is making me less free. I need help outside this ministry." At our first training, 29 women attended, including 3 pastors' wives. One stayed afterward. "My husband tells women I am too fragile to understand his counseling work," she said. "Are you fragile?" "No, I am excluded." Naming the condition changed her posture. My restoration would not come from reclaiming the First Lady's chair. It would come from giving other women language before silence became their only spiritual habit. Isaiah continued therapy, and attended worship from the back pew twice a month. As permitted, he did not approach the pulpit or counsel anyone in the hallway. To a man accustomed to being needed, restriction was serious discipline. To me, it was proof that a pastor's gift did not place him beyond protection from his own appetite to matter. 1 year after the appreciation service, Mercy Crossing held a service of care. There was no portrait, gold banner, or single chair at the center of the platform. The church honored grief circle volunteers, drivers, counselors, meal coordinators, ushers, and older women who had learned to ask plain questions where titles once ended discussion. Mother Eunice presented a glass bowl filled with river stones. Each carried one word: truth, consent, wisdom, patience, courage, rest. The bowl was placed beneath the pastoral care covenant, above the blank space where the plaque's plate had been. Isaiah attended with Dr. Caldwell's approval. He sat in the last pew. Afterward, he asked to speak with me near the open sanctuary doors. Mother Eunice remained within sight. "I used your presence as proof that I was trustworthy," he said. "I used Lenora's grief to feel understood. I called secrecy spiritual, because the honest name would have required me to stop." It was the first apology that did not ask me to measure his intention before naming his action. "I hear you," I said. He asked whether our marriage still had a future. "I do not know, but I know it will not have a false one." We stood quietly while afternoon light moved across the empty pews. My faith survived the removal of his plaque. My dignity survived my refusal to present it. Forgiveness did not require me to reopen every door. Grace did not ask the church to forget what power had done. Truth did not humiliate us. It ended our agreement with concealment. And love, when worthy of the name, does not need a woman's silence to remain standing. This channel was created for women who have carried more than anyone knew, and who deserve to be seen. If this story touched a place where you were asked to protect someone's image while your own spirit went unseen, share only what feels safe in the comments. Sometimes the first step toward freedom is simply returning what you can no longer present as true.